Like, we are not one of those agencies personally that want to get 1,000 creators just because they can go to brands and says like, oh, we have a network of 1 billion views. Who cares? That is not value to me. That is numbers. That is vanity metrics. Okay. You want to have someone that can be really like a good option for your brands. So we prefer to have like less people, but really selected.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to My Social Life. This is the podcast where you can hit the life stories behind the people on social media. I'm your host, Jacob Kelly. As always, today's podcast is powered by TRUFAN. Before we get into today's conversation, there's a couple things that we need to go over first. If you enjoyed today's podcast, be sure to leave us a positive rating and review. Share this episode with a friend and subscribe to the show. Put up brand new interviews every single Monday, and a brand new takeaways episode is an audio exclusive where I sit down and break down the most recent podcast episode of the week every single Thursday. And now, today on the podcast, we are joined by Alessandro Bogliari. Alessandro is the CEO and co-founder of the Influencer Marketing Factory, a global influencer marketing agency that helps brands and companies launch influencer marketing campaigns on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. They've worked with the likes of Google, Sony Music, Universal Music, Warner Music Group, Bumble, Snapchat, Meta, and so many more. And I could not be more excited to have him here on the podcast today. Alessandro, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you here. And where I want to start today, I want to go back to the beginning, I like to the whole backstory. So you grew up in Milano, right? And from my understanding, building businesses kind of all your life growing up, even like around the time of 16 when you started. I think 13 you created your first website or something like that. So give me a little bit of background about who you were growing up.
Wow, you did your homework. I appreciate that. Yes, you are totally right. So, and of course, like, when we say like business, when you're like 16, I mean, nowadays it's a bit easier because there is a lot of components already ready to go, right? Back in the days, it was mostly doing things like on Notepad and HTML, easy things. So when I say like business, I'm gonna go more there, but like in detail. But I did my first website when I was like 12. I'm now 30 years old, so that was like 18 years ago. And again, it was not that easy to create. Like WordPress was not there. Joomla was there. So again, I'm talking like a boomer, but if anyone is listening, they know what I'm talking about. It was Joomla and Drupal and all the others. Okay, before that WordPress getting into that. So long story short, I started making a first website with like frames, really boring things, basic HTML, CSS was not a thing, but I was so into that I was able to put something on the internet and people were able to see. Like that was amazing. And again, like you are 12 nowadays, it's everyone is used to because of all these different ways to create websites, right? But back in the days, just the idea that I was able to put something there and people see it, like it blew my mind. And so I started like that. And when I was 15, 16, I started doing websites for other people. So I was a sort of like freelancer. I was get paid like nothing. Like people really like I was so happy just to create websites that maybe like I got maybe 50 euros for a website. It's the equivalent of maybe what now, $70. But it was just exciting me that I had clients in a way. And so I started like that at 16. And then when I was 18, I actually created my real first, if you can call it business. It was like this website, what to do in Milano, called Milanoids. And we had this team of 20 people. And we were not really that good in monetizing that, but I learned so much because everyone knew about us in Milano, okay? And it was this WordPress website on what to do in the city. And again, having a team, taught me leadership and responsibilities and tasks and so on. So long story short, not really a business in terms of monetization, but anything else that you cannot really study. I learned it that way since I was really young.
What's the entrepreneurial culture like in Italy and Milano specifically growing up? Because I've heard you say in the past that young people aren't necessarily taken as serious as they are in Italy versus United States. So what was the reaction like from friends and family as you're kind of going all in on this website, taking this entrepreneurial venture at 18 versus what other people might be doing at that age?
For sure. This is a good point. Italy, this is what I say all the time. Italy and a lot of other European countries are, especially Italy, it's a lovely place for a vacation. If you retire, if you go there as, let's say, an American and spending like a week, in Tuscany, when it comes to work, business opportunities, and especially if you're young, nah, nah, it's not the place. Everyone looks at you mostly on the age, and people are like, hey, you are only these, you don't have enough experience. I mean, Italy, it's a place for all people. It's unfortunate to say, but it is the reality. So at the time, I always studied and worked together, like at the same time, right? So I do remember I was maybe going to high school, and I did like classical studies, so ancient Greek, Latin, like really heavy stuff. And after school, I used to stay with my friends, whatever. But after maybe certain hour in the afternoon, I was going to this other place and working for this newspaper where I learned how to use graphical things. And that was before that I started my bachelor degree in graphic design. And I was really passionate about that. So I was doing like crazy hours. I was doing all this really difficult high school. I was going there and working, and maybe up to 2-3 in the morning, and then the day after. And also when I was 18, I was having this first startup, but I also started working in an agency, and so I was going to college, like university, during the day, and at night I was working. So not a lot of people find it like, I think that a lot of people thought of me like, why? They were like, why? You could just be here and you study, you have the best time of your life and everything. And during high school, I did enjoy it, and I had like the best time. But I also was working, because I always was like, in Italy, a lot of people stay at home with their parents up to 30 plus, 35 plus. Like, it's crazy. I was like, I don't want that. I want to be completely like independent. And luckily, my parents are also entrepreneurs, so they understood that and they were happy. And actually, at the table during dinner all the time, we were talking about business and how to grow things. So they accepted it, but other people my age were like not really interested in that. So maybe they look at me like, why do you even bother? But so that happened, I'd say. Yeah.
Do you think the reason that you were independent was because your parents were entrepreneurial? Like, what led you to being so different from your peers?
I'd say so. I mean, like my parents have not always been like entrepreneurs. They were before like really good position, and they're different companies in Italy. And then more than 10 years ago, they started a publishing house. But always they work a lot. And so I came with a good position. Like don't like I was a good place in Milan and everything. So, but I always saw that if you want to achieve things, you have to work. And that was a good example. Like, I didn't get for granted anything. So they thanks to them, I traveled the world even when I was a kid. But I always understand that it didn't come for free, because of work. And so when they started their own or company, it was cool because I was actually helping them at the beginning, doing like a graphic design for covers of the books. And that like in that moment, I started understanding what is a budget, the timelines, deadlines, and so on. And so thanks to that, like I started understanding, okay, something is when you study things, and something else is the real world. So I'd say that was a big thing, because when you come from that, right, and you understand is no one else is going to help you but yourself, you're not going to have a salary for sure. Then something click in your head is like, okay, this is different than having a salary. And in my own life, before working, like creating this company and co-founding it, I never been an employee in my life. I always worked as a freelancer, or now as an entrepreneur, never been on a salary. So I never experienced that things of like, no matter what I do, at the end of the day, at the end of the month, I'm going to have the paycheck. Never had that. So I don't know. Some people think I'm crazy, but I like it that way.
Of course. And so with having no paycheck, then a quick question about Millinois, then, because you said that you didn't really make a lot of money from it because you didn't know how to necessarily monetize it correctly, but you still had a team of 15, 20 people. So were they volunteers? Like, how are you encouraging people to join your company when it wasn't making a lot of money? Like, how did you do that?
So first of all of us, we were between like maybe 18 and 20 years old, something like that. Again, entrepreneurship and work like in Italy, it's really difficult. So even back in the days, and now talking about 10, 12 years ago, if you were able even just to get tickets to concerts for free, arts, museum, and so on, you were already like, wow, this is the best job possible. Because people were mostly writing about things, and they had to go to a concert and to an exhibition. And, it was fun. It was like getting all together after, the university, and so on. So that's why, like, it was not a real company in terms of, it was not no HR. It was not like, it was a mess in terms of that, but it was still structured. Like we had an agenda, we had publishing, we had different departments, like one for music, one for art and photography, another one. So each of the people were like, you know what, I'm not making money. Like, the founder of this is not making money. So I'm happy also not making money because it's, I'm learning, I'm getting stuff for free. And again, at that age, maybe in the States it's different because you have this business mindset that you want to make money from day one. But instead in Italy, it's like, I'm having fun, I'm learning things, I'm getting stuff for free. And believe me, like again, in Italy, if you're like 18 and you can go to a festival for free, that's it. That's enough, So how we got like people there, it was an exciting moment to create something that was quite new in Milano. So people wanted to join just because of that. We were getting a lot of buzz, and again, like they were getting a lot of stuff for free. It was a nice way to be all together. So nowadays you have like TikTok houses. Back in the days was mostly let's meet at this cafe and let's schedule the week coming. That was it.
That's an interesting point you made about how in the United States, when you're 18, 19, you're thinking primarily about money when you're starting a business. How much money can I make? Will I exit for hundreds of $1,000,000? I'm curious, having the reverse mindset growing up in Italy, where money's obviously important, but it's not everything. It's not the whole reason behind the business. How has that mindset impacted your career thus far? Has not caring about money allowed you to, in the long run, actually make more money?
Exactly. So more than like I'd say more than not caring about the money, because I'm not gonna lie, like I'm doing this not for the glory. I'm doing this because But we were able, as a bootstrapped agency, in less than 3 years to get a multi-million-dollar company, and we went to 7 digits after 1 year. So why did we do that? I think because coming from Europe, because of an historical reason, like back in the days, I'm talking about, I want to get like into history channel, but like when back in the days in Florence, I'm talking about 14th, 15th century, like there were little shops, okay? And maybe there was the owner that started making shoes. And then only after they started making a profit, they get an assistant. And then after making more, they open another shop next to it. So what we do in Europe as a mentality, we scale in a safe way. Okay, that's why I never, like, every week we have a VC like telling us, do you want money? I don't want your money, mostly because I don't want to get in the position where I'm gonna burn cash. And unfortunately, this is something that I see all the time in the States. I love the entrepreneurial mindset of the United States. That's why I'm here. The endless opportunities, and sky's the limit. But also what I don't like it is that nowadays it's that easy to get money. And whenever you have money that is not yours, you're going to burn cash. And that's why a lot of companies, they fail or they don't get to a profitable point, mostly because here you are 100 millions. Play with those. Nah, I don't like that mentality. I'm like, only when I'm able to get to a break even on certain department, I'm going to get another person. And that's why we calculate, for example, the revenue per employee. I want to be in a safe level where tomorrow I don't want to, like fire 15 people because we just went too big and then we don't have enough clients. So long story short, the con of that is that Italy doesn't give you the entrepreneurial mindset, but on the pro is that you have this sort of, how can I be safe without mess out things? And so how can I grow something in a really organic way without necessarily needing VC money? And also, how can you actually make something that is going to be stable? So yeah, I think that I learned that way. I got the best of these different things, and that's why I'm not a big fan usually of necessarily VC money, because sometimes I saw many terrible stories, a lot of nightmares of you got 1 billion and we saw companies closing in 6 months, even with 1 billion. So money is not everything. I'd say it's about approach, mindset, mentality, and the strategy that you're going to have, and hard work. It's number one for sure.
Of course. And there's like VCs know when they make these investments that a lot of them are going to go to zero. So they know that they're not necessarily investing in every company that's going to execute and make the returns on their investment, because you're hoping for that unicorn to offset the cost of all the losses of your bad investments.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. Like in Italy, we don't have that many VC. If you get maybe $300,000 in investment, you're gonna go on the news. Like here, if you get that, it's not even seed money. It's like it's beer money. Okay. So again, not having that in my mind, and I met different founders that are getting money and everything. What I say all the time, I wouldn't cheer to get maybe I'd say a Series A. I mean, it's totally cool, good for you. I would cheer when you're profitable. That is for me, like cash is king in my opinion, and more than the valuation. Valuation is based on nothing. It's made up numbers. And what I'm seeing is that in this nowadays economy, there is a big problem because people don't care anymore on actual profits. It's about the big valuation, but that is just making things a bit worse, and no one getting the business now. It's about actually making an impact or making profits. It's more about how much can I raise, and that's, to me, as a business person, it's just not really in line what I think.
Why do you think there's such a big focus on how much you raise versus how much you're actually making?
Because it's big numbers. Like what I noticed is that, and again, to go back what I was saying before, what I noticed is the big difference between Europe and the States. We start with one person, two people, 5, 10, and you scale. In the States, from day one, you go out with a business plan that is gonna sell the dream, and it's gonna say, I'm gonna kill it, I'm gonna do 1 billion next year. No one does that, but still you hired 300 people. Can you imagine the difficulty for HR, for your approach to work, structure in a company? If you get on board so many people, you're gonna have so much expense in marketing. It's easy to lose control. So I think that on the one hand, it's super cool to say that, but something is to get the money, something is how you spend them. Like, can you have a long-term strategy there? So it's cool because everyone wants to say, like, I raised 100 million, because now it's the phase of raising money. We saw that with SoftBank, with the Vision Fund. Every day I'm hearing about billions here, millions there. But again, at the end of the day, in my opinion, is it profitable? Is it a real business? Are you making money? Or are you hoping to bid on something and get a return? And that's why, again, I'm not a big fan of that approach to business.
That's another good point too, about how when you hire so many people so fast, things can get broken. And I hear often about how, listening to different VCs or entrepreneurs talk, how once you just move fast and break things, and then once you get to a point, you go back and fix them. But if you're bootstrapping it and growing the way you are, when you only expand when you have the financial means to do so, you're going to be doing it in a more comfortable way, and you're not going to be breaking things as you scale as well.
100%. Yeah.
And so let's jump back to kind of the impetus of influencer marketing for you. From my understanding, you wrote your thesis was on influencer marketing, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So this was what year? This was 2016, I believe.
Oh my God. I have all the time this problem in my life of remembering like where I was because I changed a different series, but it might be like five years ago or something like that. Yes, it could be. Yeah.
And so this was very early. I mean, obviously there had been some small things happening, but like for mass adoption, this was very early for influencer marketing. So I'm curious why you chose to write your thesis about it.
I was working in the industry, so I was into that. I was fascinated by it, and I was working as a growth hacker. That's my back. I mean, like I did a graphic design art direction bachelor degree. Then I went into a master's degree for digital innovation and management. So I changed different things in there to combine different industries and skills together. But I always been in my life, I'd say, a growth hacker. I love the idea to exploit things, and how can I never had a big budgets in my life, and so I was like, how can I use this small idea and scale it up? So I always been like a growth hacker, and I work a lot on that. So while I was working as a growth hacker, I got into the influencer marketing arena, and I was like, you know what, like there is a lot of confusion. There is the Wild West. Everyone is like paying people like without a framework, without an idea of like, okay, I'm gonna pay this person this amount because of. Nah, it was random. You remember, right? It was random. Like there was no regulations, no rules, no price list. Not that now you have those, but now at least you have an idea. So I was like, long story short, how can we get influencer marketing in the academia that was missing it? Like I found 3 little papers about influencer marketing back in 2015, 16. That was it. So academia was really slow in picking up what was influencer marketing. I was like, what if I write a thesis about this? Since I'm working on this now, I'm into that. I have a lot of knowledge. I have a lot of data and insights. And my thesis was like, let's create a really super easy calculator. There was the Instagram money calculator was like, let's find a way where I take in consideration certain data and insights, and I put the number there, and I get a sort of potential like earnings per follower, engagement rate, geolocation, industry, and so on. how much should I get paid? So I did my survey, I did my calculation. I even created I think it was in Node.js, a small program where you were able to scrape the information of an Instagrammer, put it in a username there, and you got this amount. And then after many websites got that, but I created it back in like 5-6 years ago. The idea was like, how can we make these serious as paid advertisement on Google, Facebook, you name it. At the beginning, it was like seriously like, oh, take this money, do this, post. I wanted to say Instagram influencer marketing can be a serious matter and should be taken seriously as any other branches of marketing. So I said, let's write this thesis. And it was 100 plus pages. Not a fan of writing academia stuff, but hey, I was doing my master, so I had to do something. So I was like, I hate this, I hate my master. How can I make it a bit better? Let's write a thesis about what I love, that is influencer marketing. And yes.
So that was 5-6 years ago. I'm curious how much of a shift it's been for people taking influencer marketing as seriously as other marketing avenues. You said back in 2015, 2016, it wasn't taken seriously. Is it on par with other places now, or is it still not getting the respect it deserves?
I think that we are getting there. I'd say that is still, it's like, back in 2019 when, YouTubers were at the end of the chain, right? Like it was everyone else and then YouTubers, because they have these new media that like this idea right behind that. We're like, oh, whatever. And influencer marketing before, it was like, let's just put some money in the marketing mix and let's see what happens. Luckily now it's opening up because of what happened with COVID. More people spend time. So I'd say that nowadays brands and our clients, they expect to see an ROI, they expect to see certain numbers, they want to see a forecast even before starting a campaign, right? So it's more data oriented than before, for sure. Is there still some confusion and misunderstanding? Yes, because there is still this idea that, especially with TikTok, that everything is going to be viral, or that, there is still something there. And I think that the main problem is the generational gap, right? Because a lot of the times, some companies are smart enough to put someone young in charge of influencer marketing. Some other times you have a 50 years old. With all due respect, I'm not saying that everyone that is in their 50s doesn't understand social media, but come on, it's a different lingo. It's a different way to be on TikTok if you're in your 50s compared to in your 20s, or So long story short, I'd say that it depends by the type of brand, but we saw an increase in budgets, an increase in overall campaigns during the year. So before, maybe it was like, let's test it out once a year. Now we have clients that every month, almost on a retainer, they have a campaign, and maybe they test on an app, and then they open up to other apps that they have, or they open up in a market with a geolocation and open up to other countries. So we definitely saw a big increase, and so yeah, like overall, it's just not what was like 6 years ago. Now finally people get it, and more money involved, and more education overall.
And so I believe it was, so you did your thesis 2015, 2016, you moved to Miami around 2017 and start the agency shortly after that?
Yeah, so let's say that I worked with other people when I was in Miami. Didn't go as expected. So I was like, I think I'm ready to create my own agency. Again, I was, I'd say, a good growth hacker, big fan of SEO. And in fact, now, like after only 3 years now, if you type like influencer marketing agency, we're third on Google. So it was a lot of work. But again, I was a big fan of SEO, growth hacking, and so on. So I was like, you know what? I know these things. My co-founder comes from more corporate world. So we said, I know startups. I know how to build things. And my co-founder is like, I know how to structure things because I come from pharma and banking and all these type of things. So I was missing the proper business structure, but I had that passion and that growth hacks. And my co-founder was like, I know how to put a structure on all of it. We put that together, and we got set. So, but it started in Miami. We still have our headquarters in Miami downtown. Then I moved to New York, but we have people across 8 different states in the US. And when it comes to Europe, we have people in 6 countries now. So we've been remote since day one. I love the idea of being remote even before COVID, and people love it too. So why not? And
your co-founder is Nicola Bartoli, right? And she was your co-founder with Millinois?
Correct. Both from Milano. So long story of working together. So that helps, right? Because what to do, what not to do in the years coming and everything. So that definitely helps. I heard stories about founders meeting randomly, right, on our group, and sometimes it works. And it was like one of these fantastic story. Some other times I heard about nightmares of people that were not meant to be together as founders, and that is really important because, again, especially if you create an agency, it's a fast paced environment. It's really stressful for your mental health and everything. You need to have a founder and a co-founder and people on top of management that you talk the same language. If not, it's going to be chaos and anarchy. So that helps a lot. Yes.
And so I'm curious. So we talked about how one, you did this without funding. So obviously you kind of just you bootstrapped this business, but also you did this, from my understanding, because you moved from Europe to Miami. I'm assuming you didn't have a ton of connections or anything like that. So you really built this agency from the ground up with nothing. So I'm curious how you were able to get your first clients. Because whenever anybody starts an agency, whether even just a college student in their dorm room with a laptop, getting that first client is a hurdle so many people struggle with. So with the Influencer Marketing Factory, how did you get that first client in the door?
I'd say mostly thanks to SEO. So 3 years ago, when we built the website, again, I'm a big fan of SEO. So we have been one of the first agencies offering TikTok influencer marketing, at the beginning. So we did a landing page called TikTok Influencer Marketing Agency, no competition. So I did a lot of different hacks here and there. So, of course, I use the most possible, Google Maps locations and in different hacks here and there, and and so on. So what I did mostly is that, one, we still get 95+% of our clients thanks to inbound. We don't really do outbound, and that's how even Fortune 100 companies get to us, because they are looking for they have a problem or they have a need, and what is the best way to find you there, right? And well positioned them. Then we started to be everywhere. Like I started contacting all the different directories of influencer marketing. No one was really there. I mean, like, they were there, but no one was really there. So I was like, okay, how can I exploit this one? So now, if you still look, we are on page one, all the lists that you can find, we are there, and we're like first, second, or third, or we're on top all the time, right? So it was like, PPC is expensive. How can I find another way? And so we got on all these lists. And then lastly, I in the years, I started having a good relationship with the different journalists. So what I do is that we create a report for free. Like, we did one about social commerce that we are actually updating now. In the next weeks is gonna be live with an update. We did a creator economy, 70+ pages, and we got exclusive quote from like Jack Conte, the CEO of Patreon. We got a quote from the CMO of Jelly Smack, and 20 more experts in the thing. So like, we did a survey. So it's a lot of good information, right, for free. So what we did is that even back in the days, we started doing a lot of research and data scraping here and there. We were compiling data and blog posts, and we were sending out to journalists. And journalists, they need information, right? They need insights. Every day, if you go on different publication and news website, you find data and insights. Where they come from? Mostly from experts, owners of agencies, and so on. So it was like, I don't have enough money to invest in like marketing, because it was at the beginning. We started with $1,500. That was our VC, our own money. That was it. That was the found. Okay, $1,500 cash. Okay, and so it was like, how can we use someone else audience, right? And this is a typical example. Back in the days, Instagram used to have the watermark on their photos, and they were posting on Facebook. And people from Facebook were like, oh, what is this? Cool, let's check it out. TikTok did the same. So it was like, how can we use someone else's audience? So I started connecting with journalists, right? And I was like, I'm not pitching you, because journalists, I understood, right? After a while, they hate if you pitch them. But what if you give them something for free and valuable? And we get in exchange mentions on different publications. And after that, SEO, authority, and backlinking and mentions all together brought us to a level where if you were looking for an influencer marketing agency, we were there. And after a while, word of mouth, clients referrals, and so on. So I'd say that, to be honest, because of all the work before and some luck also, for sure, in terms of getting to the right moment with TikTok growing and being there as a blue ocean strategy, we got the first clients in the first year, and we never sent a cold email outreach to get clients. Not one. After, yes, to find some others, but the first year we only got inbound clients and big ones.
Wow. And I'm curious, what was it about TikTok? I know you kind of stumbled onto the app through YouTube compilations. But the app at the time, the reason most people were on it, it was branded as an app for kids or a social network for kids or teens. So what did you see watching those compilations that made you realize that this is an opportunity for the agency that we need to take advantage of right now?
Sure. First of all, you're really good in doing your homework. Wow, like I am amazed. Like really, you did all okay. Wow, there is good
Thank
info.
you.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. I started watching compilations because I was a big fan of Vine. I still watch compilation of Vine sometimes. You know those like compilation I watch at 3 a.m. Instead of sleeping, and I loved Vine. I was in Copenhagen, Denmark, back in the days. No one of my friends, no one in college was watching Vine. I was like, guys, you have to check it out. Like it's fantastic. 6 seconds, you can write stories. This is what I loved of US content creators. Back in the days, it was Viners. Okay, content creators was not a term. What I loved it is that in 6/7 seconds, some people were able to do movies. In my opinion, like they were fantastic. Like they were able to edit in a way that in Italy I never seen something like that. Like they were really good in being directors and cut videos and tell a story in 6 seconds. So storytelling was big on Vine, and I was a big fan of it. So I was telling to my friends, go check it out. It's gonna be a big thing. Then it was discontinued, and we'll know because Vine acquired that. There was not a business model behind that. The content creators were not paid because it's not fault of Vine. There was no the idea to pay creators. It's something so new. Like just now, major social media starting to pay out. But long story short, I was a big fan of that. And so I was watching compilation, and then I stumbled upon this YouTube compilation called worst and best cringy TikTok videos. If you remember back in the days, TikTok was not the place for cool people. It was furries, and was nerds and people playing video games and cosplayers. That was it. So it was like, I'm not really into those type of things, but I was fascinated by the I'd say the views that they were accumulating, and the idea that you were able to create the videos like similar to Vine. But also what I loved it is that after a while I saw more content creators getting top. And what I loved it is that the opportunity for everyone to get millions of views. Instagram reach was going down by a lot. I was like, Instagram is not the future, TikTok is, because everyone can jump on it, and without even a follower, you can get on the For You page. And that's where I clicked. I was like, clients will start asking for more views, for a better organic reach, and Instagram is not the answer for them, but TikTok is. And then we started promoting that, and we got a lot of clients. So it was like a love for Vine and a sort of blue ocean where like we cannot compete against other agencies that are already in the market from a lot of years and going on Instagram, YouTube. We cannot compete with that. Let's do it TikTok. And that was the sort of booster at the beginning.
And so the first campaign was a dance and hashtag challenge with Sony Music, right?
Correct. Yes, it was like it was one of the first. Like nowadays, hashtag challenges is for everyone, but back in the day, it was like, what is even that? It was a fun experiment for sure. So it was music, dances, all together. So it was quite cool. Yeah.
So basically, the agency grew with as TikTok grew. I'm assuming, like you said, I think it was you said 7 figures that first year, and I'm assuming it's just continued to grow as TikTok has grown. So getting in early, being one of the first movers, was a huge advantage for the agency.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, like you get into this, as I said before, like into this blue ocean without a lot of competition, and brands start recognizing you as an expert, right, for certain things. So I do remember some journalists back in the days asking me like, "How is it going with TikTok?" And I do remember we were going like well, but again, there were not that many clients asking for that, especially also like TikTok ads. We started offering that. We had the beta like for the marketplace and the TikTok ads management tool. It was still in beta, and not a lot of clients wanted that. Now almost every client that do TikTok want also management for TikTok ads. So long story short, we saw. I'd say that at the beginning it was mostly primarily for TikTok. Now we are a more aged agency, and so it's not just relying on TikTok, it's also Instagram and YouTube. We also do research for some clients, and we also do like different bundles. Sometimes maybe we work on other type of campaigns that are not necessarily just social media. So we do more. We did some things on Twitch as well. So now it's more, I'd say split about, things. But at the beginning, for sure, it helped out a lot TikTok. Yeah.
And you're also doing a little talent management as well, right?
That's correct. We do have around 20 TikTokers, only based in the US. We really have a lot of diversity. We have, LGBTQ plus community. We have Latinos. We have a lot of, maybe because I'm an immigrant living in the States, I know what does it mean to be, I'm not a minority because, white male. So I'm definitely not a minority, but I know that it's difficult sometimes to go to another country and different cultures. So we have people from different different cultures. All of them are mostly in the US, mostly because we don't want to. It's difficult, right, to manage different people across the world. But when it comes to talents, and together, maybe I don't know how much is now 40 million plus followers together. So it's not a super big number. It's a good number for TikTok. But yeah, we wanted also to experiment and be like, what if we also manage, some of them. So yeah, we did it, and it's going well. It's fun.
How come you decided to do the management as well? Was it just an easy thing to add on to the business now? Do you have a roster of creators you can easily plug into campaigns and stuff like that? Like, what led to you guys looking at that and deciding that that was a good opportunity for the business?
For sure, I'd say that one was because sometimes we wanted to have preferred rates and going faster. So imagine that maybe sometimes we work with a company that it says we need 10 influencers, and maybe sometimes you're running like late on something, and you're like, I have the perfect person here because it's in line and everything. You're going to be faster, you have more control, and it's going to be usually a preferred rates, right? Because it's your talent. So I'd say a lot of combination. And also what we said is that sometimes you find someone with, 2-3 millions of followers and then maybe explode, okay? Like one of the person that helps me told me back in the days, hey, look at this cabbie. He has like 2-3 millions of followers and he's growing well. And this was some months ago. And now he's number 2 on TikTok. So if you are able to get someone before, it's like the stock market. You get it to right? It's like you get it to a place, right, where it's really low numbers, but with potential. And if you get there, then you're gonna get to maybe people with 10 millions of followers. And then as an agency, you usually get the typical 20% fee and everything. So it started as a necessity, and then it became like another revenue stream with opportunities for the agency.
What are some of those things you look for in a creator that to make you think that they have potential? Some maybe not necessarily to grow at the scale that Cavi did, but for just other creators, like almost like for people listening to this, reverse engineer what they should be doing to help grow their account. Like, what do you look for in a creator that you think they have a lot of potential to blow up?
So I'd say apart from the numbers, is the the business mindset approach that you can have. We're looking for professionals. Like, we are not one of those agencies personally that want to get 1,000 creators just because they can go to brands and says like, oh, we have a network of 1 billion views. Who cares? That is not value to me. That is numbers. That is vanity metrics. Okay. You want to have someone that can be really like a good option for your brands. So we prefer to have like less people, but really selected. So we receive a lot of people every day. We do have like a formal line. People can go there and try to join the agency. And so we can see a part of the metrics and the quantitative analysis that we can do. It's about, of course, the type of content. Like we want to be sure that it's brand safe. We don't want people just doing passwords or like whatever. Like we want to be sure that there is a niche, there is a storytelling, that people can be trusted by others. We want to be sure that there is some. So we study a lot each of these potential creators. And as I was saying before, the mindset. We want to be sure that these people, even if you're like young, they have a mindset approach where it's like, okay, this is a job. It's not like a hobby or a side hustle. If I have a client, like if I'm working for an agency and we do have a client, okay, they are like, you know what, you're gonna get paid this to do these deliverables by this time. You do that. So that's why we do also some, preliminary calls with these people, because we want to be sure, are these people on point? Like, do they arrive on time on our first call? It's like the same. If you are doing hiring for an employee, you notice these things. Do they thank you after the call? Like, do they tell you like, thank you for this opportunity? Like, are they like people, nice people? Are they trustworthy people? And that's, to me, is the most important, the metrics when it comes to your own talents. When it comes to outreach to other people, then it's more about metrics and content and quality. But your own people, you want to be sure that you have that in mind, because to me that is a core. As you do for employees, it should be also the same for talents.
So I kind of want to walk through with you now the process of just like a campaign from beginning to end, just kind of see a little bit of insight as to how you approach it. I'm curious, when you're coming into a new campaign, what is step one for you? Where do you start every single time?
Okay, now, I mean, I know some of the parts, of course, like luckily I'm not me anymore to do campaigns. Like I have a fantastic team that every single day works on, 100+ campaign per month. Like we are doing a lot of campaigns, but so I am now in a, I'd say, lucky position where I do more of like, helicopter view type of things, let's say. But still, I also play around seeing in the ground because I love doing still growth hacking and everything. So I still do that. But long story short, I'd say that the first of all, it is to understand what are the goals and KPIs of the clients, right? It's important that maybe they have an idea of what they want to achieve, and maybe we have to educate them, right? Like, hey, actually, maybe this is not the right social media, or these are not the right type of combination of influencers because this, and that. So first of all, it's a call to understand what they want, and for us to understand 100% what is the product about, what is the app, what is, like, we want to understand everything, because then it's going to be us to go there and look for the best influencers. If you don't understand what is the product about, then how can we serve them well, right? So we understand all these type of things, qualitative and quantitative together. Then we go through, like, we propose them 2-3 times at least the number of influencers they want to work with, right? So you give an even bigger list based on different things. We use different platforms. We have our own internal database. We have our own talents. And after that, we go through the selection. Then there is all the storytelling, right? Like, okay, how can we do this? Is it going to be informational, like educational, funny, entertaining? What is going to be, right? And so we do all these type of things, and then we go through creativities. Of course, the clients have to check things. So we always say, let's give, to the content creator that freedom, right? But at the end of the day, it's still brand safety. So you cannot just say 100%, let's go blind and say whatever you want, it's I think something almost impossible to do. So we try to combine together, go to a middle ground, right? So all that, all the management, and we are really big on tracking things. So we do have our all sheets, UTM parameters, tracking links, third party for apps, Singular.net, apps flyer, you name it. We want to be sure that our clients have a good idea of what they spent and the price that they got back and the cost per action, per install, per all these metrics, right? So even if you're not a platform per se, we really track everything. So that also, let's say that out of 10 influencers that they working on a campaign, we know these 3 were the best ones, and we're going to hire them again because of all the metrics. So we do everything like bit lists, UTM parameters, and so on, to be sure that we have everything under control. And then at the end, we do our full report, many pages of what we told you, what happened, how can you do best in the next one, how we can help you. So this is it. And sometimes it's as fast as 2 weeks. At some other times it takes maybe 6 months because it's a big activation. But usually overall, that is the step-by-step that we do.
Okay, there's a few things I want to kind of unpack from there. And so in the you said one of the first things, obviously, figuring out the goals of the campaign. And oftentimes, is there some educating the brands you're working with on how to properly define what their goals should be and the KPIs are when it comes to working with influencers? Like, is it different? Because in the past, I've noticed people don't fully understand comparing paid ads to working with influencers, because they forget there's additional costs that go into working with influencers as opposed to just doing straight up paid ads. So is there a lot of education you also have to do in the beginning with defining those KPIs?
100%. You have to be sure that the client understands that media rights is not something included all the time, right? Paid ads is not included all the time. So you want to go on, sometimes with some clients, you want to go on a sort of glossary in terminology. What is an influencer marketing campaign? What is a paid media? What is a Spark ads on TikTok? What is a custom audience? What is you want to be on the same page. That's why we have a contract of course with each client, but also with each influencer. So we run hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of contracts. You want to be sure that everyone is on the same page. So are you going to pay for that? Fantastic. You're going to get these deliverables and these things and these forecasts. But if you want to run your own, watering for the post and everything, that is going to be extra. And so we do educate them. Some come from a place like they never work with the influencers. So it's maybe one call, it's going to be mostly education, and be sure that they want influencer marketing. Like they know what is it, okay? First of all. And two, maybe other more seasoned, it's more about going technical. Okay, what tracker do you use? You have done this in the past. Can we integrate that with this other? What about these promo codes? Can we put these pixel on that page so you can run remarketing? So it depends by the level. Sometimes it's easy, like, okay, ABC of influencer marketing. Some other time it's going to be like, how can we integrate this pixel with that custom e-commerce integration that you have? So it really depends, but always the importance of education, because if you educate your clients, first of all, they don't see just you as an agency that execute, but as a partner that they can rely on.
When you're reaching out to these influencers, how closely can you predict what the results are going to be? Because one thing I've noticed kind of early on into doing all of this is that sometimes I think the influencers that are going to crush don't do quite as well, but sometimes the influencers I think might just do okay, end up being some of our top performing creators. Like, how can you predict how an influencer's content is going to perform?
Good question. I mean, I think that even with the best platforms ever, there is not a perfect formula, because even if like someone got the best results with a campaign in the past, doesn't mean that it's not sure, right? Like, okay, just because historically speaking, I got this ROI. What if, like, this is what they say all the time. You can forecast, but if you work in marketing, there is a word that should be banned forever. If you see that, you are lying. It's guaranteed. Guarantee in marketing do not exist, like doesn't exist. And I want to tell this to all the people starting in marketing and people telling like guaranteed, it does not exist. And you know why? Because you as a marketer, you can do the best job ever. But if the app crashes, if the shoes are not delivered in time, if the lipstick is really low quality, it's not fault of the influencer, it's not fault of the agency, right? So how can you predict? You can predict based on certain things. But for example, something that we say all the time: be sure that your website is optimized and in a less than a second it can load. Because if it doesn't load, then again, maybe we're doing all this work, but the bounce rate is going to be 80%. Is it our fault? Is it your fault that your server is not? You know what I mean? So again, we can have all these historical data possible, and we try to all the time to get everything all together, right? So you can, what do? Use platforms to understand the demographics. Did they bought fake followers? How they are performing on the For You page on TikTok? Are they declining in the interest? And so on, okay? And then you can also ask them, can you share with me anything in the past? Like, what was your CPM, your CPI, your CPA? You get all this information. But again, at the end of the day, each case is different. So what we say is that we can give you a forecast depending on, and we also explain why, but we never say we're going to guarantee. The time that clients ask us, can you put guarantee? Even if it is a lot of money, we do not sign the contract, mostly because we don't like to lie. And two, then it's liability and everything. And again, if you work in marketing, you say guarantee, that's something that doesn't exist. Everything can go wrong, even if you are top one influencer. Things can go wrong for any reason. So you can predict, you can forecast, but you cannot guarantee.
Doing this podcast over the last 3 years, I've talked to a number of different people over the last 3 years about influencer marketing at different kind of stages. And I feel like a year and a half, 2 years ago, the big conversation was around micro-influencers. Work with micro-influencers. It's better to work with 50 micro-influencers than one big influencer. Has that shifted at all? Is there now as micro-influencers, should that still be the focus if you're looking to run a campaign, or are you seeing now better results with bigger influencers?
To be honest, never understood that big, love for the army of micro-influencers. And whenever they ask me, like, what is your predictions? I always talk about, like lately I'm talking always, like since 1 year, I'm talking about social commerce. Before that, I was talking about short form videos, like, and optimization and data, I never said in my life, like, oh, micro-influencers are there. And you know why? Because it's a lot of work. Like, if you want to manage 50 micro-influencers, it's a headache. And they won't necessarily bring you enough because it's still a small number. So unless you don't go with an agency, you go with a platform and you say, I'm going to give, no matter what, $100 to everyone that posts, that, in my opinion, is not influencer marketing. It's something else. That is not influencer. Still, people think that is influencer marketing. Like, nah. If you randomly select people, out of a database just because they want to work with you. That is not influencer marketing. It's content marketing, call it whatever you want, but there is no, I'd say, checks on things, like there is no vetting. But still, if you want to do that, maybe it will work. Like there is good examples of companies that got in the millions of dollars because they got an army of people. But if you're going to go by yourself as an in-house or with an agency, and good luck in managing 50 people in a month. It's crazy because a lot of micro influencers do not have that mentality of being professionals. So you have to all the time, send email follow-ups. Can you send this? Can you send that? So what we do usually, we prefer to mix up things. So never put all the eggs in a basket. So don't go with one with 50 millions of followers and that's it. You're gonna hit or miss, right? What if you get like 1 big, 3 medium, and 5 macro? This is what we do all the time, so that you can minimize the risk and maximize the possibility, especially on TikTok, where no matter the numbers of followers that you have, it's the reverse funnel, right? It's not anymore 1 million of people and then only 5% see you. It's like 10K followers, but potentially 10 millions of views. So that's why all the time we say, let's minimize the risk. Let's put our eggs in different baskets. So even if one didn't perform well, we do have 9 others, but we don't have like 49 others, So again, micro influencers, I don't know why this myth came along, like, oh, it's the best. Yeah, it can help, but really maybe 50 people altogether can bring you result of maybe 1 medium. So I'm more of a fan of medium influencers because they have that relationship still really strong with their people, but they have a bigger numbers. And so instead of like having to talk with 10 people, you can talk with 1. And that in terms of time consumed type of things, it helps a lot.
How do you define kind of that micro, mid, and big influencer? I feel like sometimes even there was a conversation at one point with like nano influencers under 1,000 followers. But it's like, what are the numbers that you kind of use roughly as like a benchmark for this and under is micro, this and under is medium, this and over is big?
Again, I don't work anymore in the operation, luckily, so I really don't know. What I noticed is that each social media is different, right? Like you cannot say, like someone, in my opinion, someone with 1 million on TikTok is not a macro influencer because it's quite easy to get to a 1 million, right? So to me, that is like medium. I don't want to say it's micro, but it's going to be medium, right? A macro is going to be maybe 5, 10 plus, right? Million, something like that. If you have 100,000, on 100,000 followers on TikTok, it's easy. 100,000 on YouTube, wow, good luck. Like I read somewhere that like to get your first 1,000 followers on YouTube, it takes like 22 months or something like that. Like that is the average. It's or maybe 10,000. I don't remember. It was a small number. So again, it depends the social media you're in. But I'd say that, nowadays, something like 1 million plus on Instagram, you can say it's a macro. But again, 1 million on 1 million plus on TikTok, I wouldn't say it's a macro, I'd say it's a medium. But 1 million plus on YouTube, it's a big number because it's really difficult to get there, right? So again, you should take that in consideration. And each year, the number changes, right? Because you still have a long tail, right? Like you have that typical, long tail type of chart. But long story short, let's say that you should all the time look at, okay, where I'm in now and what is the social media. And also, lastly, where are you located? Being like in Brazil with 1 million, it's quite easy because it's more population, right? It's easy, right? But if you are 1 million in Italy, you are one of the top. So there is so many factors, and that's why it's difficult to say. But people want to make things easier to understand, but it's difficult to make it something that easy because there is not a price list, there is not a framework, and you should all the time consider and factor in different things. So again, there is not the perfect answer, to be honest, and all the time you have to consider things.
One thing you said with the micro influencers with the reverse pyramid is they might have 10,000 followers, but they could get 1 million views. But also, if you're working with somebody with 1 million followers and it's not an authentic ad, it could be the reverse, where you're working with someone with 1 million and they get 10,000 views. And I wrote a quote down here. You said, I don't know if this is your original quote, if you took it from somewhere else, but it was, don't make ads, make TikToks.
Yeah, that is not me. It's TikTok.com.
Okay.
I want to say that loud. But we used to say that also back in the days. Like they also got it with this really nice sort of advertisement for themselves. Like, and it is true. Like you want to be sure that you don't make ads, mostly because, as you said, you're gonna pay someone for 1 million of followers, but maybe you're gonna do 10K, right? And that's what is cool, especially like 1 year ago, we used to pay, and 2 years ago actually, we used to pay TikTokers really like nothing. And you pay them maybe for let's say $200, okay? And maybe you were able to do 5 million of views because you were paying on follower space and not on views yet, okay? Now you might pay for someone with 1 million and they're gonna tell you like, hey, I don't care about the views now, pay me because of my historical growth, so you have to pay me because I have 1 million of plus followers. So that's tricky. And when TikTok came along and they have this big thing like, don't make ads, make TikTok. It's true. People, Gen Z, millennials, everyone, we don't click anymore on cold advertisement. No one is anymore like, hey, buy these because it's cool. That doesn't work anymore. You want to be entertained. What I say all the time is like, you want to make an ad that you would share to someone. So when you saw on TikTok the share icon with a lot of big metrics there, to me, that is a win. Even more than comments and likes, the share is like, I not only, because if you comment, it could be like a comment that goes into this cloud, whatever. But if I share it, it means that I'm taking the attention of someone on my, my messages, on my WhatsApp group, whatever. So I'm telling like, hey guys, stop what you're doing and watch these. So that was like, it's a win as an ad. And as so others would like say, I didn't even realize this was an ad. That is a win. Like if you have that, of course you have to comply and everything, ad, sponsorship, whatever, because you have to come up with the FTC. But if you're able to like having people that don't even understand what is what, you want to achieve that for sure.
Have you guys as an agency noticed if there's a hashtag ad or something on a video, it might do the performance might be lowered? Like I've seen that in the past where it's like an influencer will post it and they won't put hashtag ad or something. They'll get creative with it and it'll perform better. Like, have you guys noticed anything like that?
Let's say that I don't have like enough data to confirm or deny. But let's say that, of course, social media want to sell ads, right? So whenever any social media, so I'm not pointing fingers to anyone in particular, but any social media want to minimize, ads where they don't get a cut, right? So if you're paying directly the influencer and they put ad, the social media is not getting anything out of it, right? So they're like, I don't know if I want to show this on the For You page. So again, I cannot confirm or deny, but let's say that sometimes we saw videos that were definitely shadow banned because of certain. So again, I don't know if there is a pattern, but we can see that now it's more difficult to get on certain position of organic reach if you put ad. And now with every social media there is a button that you have to turn on, and this says like, I'm saying that this is an ad, and it goes automatically embedded. You cannot remove it anymore. And again, we do that because we have contracts in place and everything. So of course we have to, disclose that. But yeah, sometimes it might be tricky, and maybe you go to a client, it's like, oh, it's gonna go to that point, and maybe you don't get that, and whose fault it is again? Is it bias of the technology that is telling you like, I don't want that to go to the For You page? Again, not enough data, maybe in 1 year, let's see.
So is a big part now when you're working with creators to make sure that the Spark ad is included in that deal so that you can amplify that post further with some paid spend?
Yeah, we usually do that. Not just because of that, to be honest. It's also because it's nowadays it's common also on Instagram to have whitening of like blog of post, because again the organic reach sometimes is difficult, but also you want to be sure to have the clickable link. So we use Spark ads because it allows you to actually drive traffic somewhere. Because brand awareness is nice, but from the video, you say, let's say, hey guys, link in bio. You have to stop scrolling, first of all, so take the attention of the person, go on the account, click on the link, like it's already 2 free extra moves, right? While if you remove that and you have a clickable link, you can just go there and do a click of a button and go to the landing page. And that is going to be more and more there, like especially with social commerce, where you can finalize the purchase inside without leaving the app. I'm talking about, let's say, Instagram shops that is with the same layout of Instagram, right? And also TikTok now in the UK, it's building up where you don't have to go to the retail website as an embedded browser, but you do everything with the layout of TikTok. You want that. You want a smoothless and frictionless type of step-by-step purchase, as user experience. So if you add one on top, it's difficult. So a lot of the times we amplify with Sparks, also because we want to show clicks and potential conversions to clients and not just brand awareness, because it's not just anymore about vanity metrics, but it's about ROI.
If I'm someone who's never done influencer marketing before and I'm trying to get into it, maybe I own a smaller brand, is there like an industry average CPM number I should be going for when reaching out to these creators to kind of understand whether I'm getting a good deal or not? Like, is there an industry average number, or even just like a ballpark of something they should be striving for when they're doing their campaign?
I don't think so, to be honest. I saw people with the same numbers asking 1 and asking 10. No differences in engagement rate, in community. It's just about how you position yourself. So sometimes it's about, maybe some people are really good, just really good in selling themselves. So it's not like YouTube CPM, where you go and more or less you can have an idea based on the type of industry that you are. Because we all know, if you talk about, let's say, finance and you do credit cards review, your CPM is going to be $50, right? Because everyone is there. But if you talk about, dog's food, maybe, whatever, then maybe you're going to have a $5 CPM. It really depends. When it comes to influencer marketing, there is not a pricing list. Again, you might have a more or less an idea, but it's all about how you position yourself and do you have an agent? It's going to be a markup. So again, unfortunately, I don't want to say a number just because it might be totally wrong. And when you say a number nowadays and someone take it and put it in a media, then it's a mess. So now I learned my lesson. I'm like, I don't know. I cannot verify this information. Just so you know, it depends by many factors, and there is unfortunately, it's not a things like, oh, this is good, this is bad. I think that at the beginning, when you get into the game, you're gonna get burned for sure at the beginning, and just after a while, and doing a lot of payments and a lot of negotiation, you're gonna learn your way, what is the right price to pay, and that's why a lot of people come to us, because we have years of experience, and our campaign managers are so good in negotiating that maybe you can even save money, and we can put those money in paid ads. We can get an extra influencer. So that's why also, people use agencies, because of the knowledge and the relationship with the influencers.
When working with bigger influencers now, are you seeing some of them, especially if you're working with startups or things like that, as your client reaching out to bigger influencers, are you noticing that they're wanting equity in companies now? I'm hearing some rumblings that more and more bigger creators, when they're doing deals, they'll do it for equity instead of an upfront figure, things like that. Is that anything you've had to negotiate with so far?
Not really. I mean, we got some proposal, but you know what? It's something else. It's not anymore just signing a contract. You're going to do 2 stories, 1 TikTok, 3 days, link in bio. We're talking about, potentially okay, you want to be there. Let's talk with the board. It's a lot of steps. So if it's so cool, on the one hand, because it's wow, it's even more. I talk about this in the creator economy report that we have done. There is a shift now for creators. It's not just anymore creating content where you'd say, hey guys, go check out 20% discount. It's actually building their own, they're building their own products. They are making their own makeup, things. They are creating their own coins. They are going I'm reading a lot about decentralized social media, where you are going to be able in the next future to bid on people, right? And so it's shifting. It's not just anymore that, but from going for the typical influencer to going from I'm going to get paid 5K to do this, to let's go on a board of people that have a VC behind and want to achieve certain numbers. It's something more. So we as an agency, again, we want to stay on our core. So as of now, we don't do that really. But I can see why maybe other talent agencies that have been in the game from 30 years, I can definitely see as something new that they should look into that, because we are going there. And so again, not for us in the future, but it would be a good idea for other bigger agencies to look as other revenue stream with a more scalability than just doing something. Because when you do a post, it's your time. I'm investing 3 hours of my time in doing this. If you are treated as a stock, it's about scalability. And it's not just about the time, but it's about opportunity, investment, and so on. And so maybe something for another episode, another podcast, but definitely something interesting that people should look into that.
Are there any other trends or predictions that you're kind of keeping your eye on right now in the influencer marketing space?
Yeah, I mean, many, to be honest, really, really many. So one of the things that, again, now it's getting to like common to everyone. Again, social commerce, but in a really smooth way. So now I can see there is still some like like back in the days, like up to some months ago, you did the content, then you click on a link that goes to an embedded browser. So the future is gonna be more like live streaming shopping, and is already happening, like Amazon Live, but also YouTube is doing now, starting new promotions where you can go on YouTube, you do not stop the live streaming, you can add things to the cart and buy. So I see overall more integration, and also more like campaigns based on performances for influencers, so that they can actually make more money thanks to fees, because now it's really difficult to track like how many things they were bought thanks to someone, especially if you go to from a social media to an e-commerce that maybe has an integration that is not trackable. So in time, we're going to see maybe more brands that are going to tell, like, I'm going to give you 1K, let's say, just a random number, but then you potentially can do even more. It's already happening for sure, especially apps they do on performance. But I'm talking about fashion, makeup and beauty, travels, and so much more on that. So that is something for sure. And in general, as I was saying now, more opportunities for content creators and influencers in general to open up their revenue stream and to organize better their work. So now it's mostly like, okay, I do this, I get paid for that, but it's going to be more tools for influencers to manage their monthly expenses, monthly everything. So they're going to be treated as a category of professionals, okay? And so also brands are going to understand that, and there's going to be even different communication between that. And we're going to see more influencers in companies that are going to get paid to go in a direction. So we're already seeing that, right? The director of influencer marketing, head of these of creativities. It's still just a smaller percentage, but I think that more influencers are gonna finally be treated as professionals, as people that are making an impact, more than just someone with a hobby. So social commerce, booming of the creator economy, more integrations, more trackability to go back to influencers and content creators in making even more money. And then lastly, I'd say bidding on people. So we saw that with BitCloud, there was more of an experiment, but for sure there is going to be something more decentralized, where influencers don't want to rely anymore only on social media. What if the Instagram again goes down for a one day? It's a big problem. What if your videos on YouTube are shadow banned? What if? So we're going to see, not in the next year, it's going to take more time, but we're going to see a decentralization of social media. So you, instead of rely on social media, you're going to create your own sort of social media with your own coins. And if you bid from the beginning on someone and this person grow, you also, as someone that believes in the person, you're going to also get paid back, right? So it's not just Patreon where you give money, you are investing in someone. So again, not it's going to happen in the next year, but in next maybe 3-5 years, that I'd say overall, how I see influencer marketing growing from a side to a big industry.
How do you guys, specifically as your agency, I guess, how do you evolve with these changes? If creators are more not focused on as much on doing brand deals now and doing their own products and building their own brands, how do you evolve with those changes?
I mean, as of now, there are not that many. I mean, we know Emma Chamberlain, we know Mr. Beast, we know many of them, right? They created their own lines. But if tomorrow, let's say, they're going to be more, you can still work with them, because then you're going to help them to become a real brand, right? So maybe you're going to work more for the influencers than the brands. And that is what talent agency, what they do, right? But again, I'm not that worried about, like, even if you create a product, it doesn't mean that it's going to be a success. You still want on the side to, right, unless there is something. But even the ones that are killing it with their own products, they still make advertisement also for third parties, because you want to, again, minimize your, like, what if one day you don't sell enough of your own items? You want to be sure that you can also make money. So I'm not worried that it's going to be like, oh, from one day to the other, bam, we lose clients. It's going to be, in case, gradual. And as we understood TikTok, and we're understanding now, before a lot of people already more than 1 year ago, the importance of social commerce, because I'm always following what is happening in China. And if you follow what is happening in China, you know what is happening in the States 3 years later, right? So now we're looking at the creator economy, what is that? So if you are in the loop of trends all the time, you are also able to understand, okay, where is it going? And if you take it with advice in advance enough, you're going to be like, okay, what if many people are going to only talk about their own things? Well, you pivot a bit, and then it's going to less brand oriented. It's going to more about how can we create a brand with you, and and so on. So again, it's gradual. So I wouldn't worry as an agency.
Sorry, did you say that you look to China and Asia for influencer marketing trends that'll come here in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like I got it that for TikTok with Douyin, right? I got it that for social commerce because in China, farmers they before were not able to sell because of big I'd say logistic problems. Like China is big, right? And a lot of farmers were not able to communicate with the rest of the land, right, in China, because they were so remote. But now, thanks to live streaming, they are selling millions of apples and fruits and veggies, right? So a lot of people are selling millions and millions of like beauty products in just 30 minutes of but in that case it's a different mindset, especially in China they are used to see and watch live streaming more than the US. They have super apps, right? So you are in one app, let's say WeChat, you are watching a video while sending money to a friend, while paying for a bill. It's everything in one place. We don't have that yet in the States, and in Europe even less. So if you look what is happening there, they're like more than 10 steps ahead. So if you watch what is working there, you're gonna see, so before, back in the day, it was like China is copying what the US is doing. Now I think in the last 3 years, US copied all the features that you can find in China. And so if you want to see what is going to happen in the next future, always check what is happening in China to see what is also going to happen in the States.
What led to that flip now where China's like 10 steps ahead in the world of influencer marketing and social commerce?
They are just used to consume more of key opinion. Like they don't even call it influencers, like they call it key opinion leaders, right? So for them, and I talk also with people that spend a lot of time in China. Key opinion leaders in China are gods. Like people look at these people, and if there is like a drop during a live streaming, millions of people. It's not like in the States, it's a joke compared. Like we have if you have 20,000 people all together, you're going to go on the news. In China, because it's a 1+ billion population, it's quite easy to get millions of people right there because it's just on a different scale. But more people have FOMO and they want to buy in, and they trust so much their key opinion leaders, they're going to buy anything that they say. So it's a different culture, a different approach for sure. But again, if you want to see how you can integrate payment system, live streaming, social commerce, and all these type of things, look at China, because they created a super apps and they have one place to do everything that we are missing in the States. But if you look what is happening there, you're going to understand what is going to happen in the next future also here.
That's just something I've talked about social selling and stuff in the past on this podcast, but I never realized how far ahead they were. Like I saw some of the big live streaming numbers, but I just didn't realize that the impact that they were having over there. One other thing that I want to ask you quickly about in terms of like the future of where all this is heading is you became, was it the first agency on the planet to accept crypto, or one of the first ones to start accepting crypto?
I think so. I mean, like we did the news mostly because I didn't find anything about it. So we said, I think they were the first or one of the few. We have a lot of clients, and especially when it was a big peak of everyone by the crypto. I'm talking about like 6 months ago. We had a lot of people on NFTs and crypto telling us like, "Hey, we have this project. Do you accept crypto?" And we got many requests. So we were like, "Yeah, why not?" And so we started accepting crypto. Yeah.
That's awesome. I saw that headline and I had to ask you about it because I didn't realize that you were one of if not the first. That's awesome.
I mean, again, I don't know like how many. Again, like maybe some people do and they just didn't do a PR about it. So again, I don't know. Maybe they're like others. They're like, oh, we started accepting 10 years ago. With the beginning of Bitcoin, that maybe it was 8 years ago, something like that. But we did it mostly because again, it was an opportunity. To be honest, we don't accept all the time because we do some screening, especially in the crypto. You never know, right? With all the scams and everything. So we want to be sure. and we only accept smaller amounts, right? Because you never know what is going to happen tomorrow with crypto, because even if you love crypto, it's really uncertain. So you cannot base too much an agency that based on cash on crypto. But we were like, why not? I mean, like if we get like amounts like be smaller compared to the US dollar, we can put in our Coinbase wallet, and it's gonna go and grow and everything. So we saw like the agency world, sometimes it's a bit old school in certain things, and we wanted to say not only we are all the time understanding what is going to be next, how can we show these actually? So let's accept crypto.
I think the agency model and how what's wrong with it and how you guys are doing things differently could be a whole separate podcast. I think we're running out of time here, so I don't want to dive into that because we'll be here for another hour if we do. But I do want to ask you, how often do you take the time to reflect on everything? To look back to that 12, 13-year-old kid who's learning to make his first website all the way to where you are now. Like, how often do you reflect on the whole journey?
Maybe not enough, to be honest. I'm really hard on myself all the time. Like it's my personality. I rarely see the winning, that I do. Even if like sometimes like, hey, I came with nothing, just two co-founders from Milano, no money in our pocket, no connections, and we did like a multi-million-dollar company with really like nothing, starting from nothing in less than 3 years. We have now a team of almost 40 people, and we manage big brands. So if I look at that, I'm like, wow. But to be honest, you know what? You are so much into the daily operation. You're so much into more and creating that it's you don't stop enough, I'd say. And that is something wrong, I'd say. We as entrepreneurs, we should stop a bit more and cheers to ourselves, even if we are not winning. Just like, hey, I'm doing it, because like a lot of people do not realize how difficult it is to be an entrepreneur, especially for mental health in an agency. It's really difficult. When you build things, you have so many hats on your head. So to answer your question, do I reflect? I do sometimes, not as much as I should. Maybe if I did more, I would be more like even happier to what I'm achieving. But sometimes I'm more still like, okay, what's the point in looking back? Like, let's look at the future. So I like that I'm growing as a professional, as a human being. I'm learning so much, but I don't want to be too much in the nostalgia of like, oh, okay, yeah, when I was a kid, I did that. Yeah, it's like looking all the time at what is going to be next, and that is something that, we Italians, we look back all the time. That is the problem. We look at the past, we don't look at the future. So something that I wanted to left out as the Italian DNA is like, don't look too much what I was. Let's look what I want to be. So that's how I see it now.
Has your definition of success changed over the years?
Okay, I know this because I know this. Because you're not the first one that asked me that. But when I was around 20 something, okay, I look at myself as my dream was to be the next Silicon Valley company with $100 million in Series A. Like I was, the one that I hate. I wanted to be that person. I even went to Y Combinator when I was 23, something like that. With a company I was working with, a startup, and it was quite cool. Like we did a 10-minute speech in front of the CFO of Y Combinator, and I was 23 and was sitting on the same chairs that like Uber and PayPal and all the others were like founded. So I was like, wow, this is cool, and first time there. So I wanted that. Success to me was like, be powerful enough to have all those monies and be the next genius kid, whatever. Then I changed that. I was like, you know what? There is something more interesting here. There is having a good balance between work and life and being friends and having a family and everything. And I just reached it. And before I was like more the typical white male with alpha that tried to achieve everything and and unfortunately a lot of people are dickhead. Like I don't like the majority of CEO because they're like always want to be that type of personality. And I was like, let's go away from that. Let's have a good balance. Let's try to be a good person, a good employer, someone that can teach the others, making money, because I'm not going to lie, I'm mostly doing also because of that, right? But without the idea that, oh, I want to change the world. Because no one in Silicon Valley, in my opinion, as of now, is changing the world unless maybe just a few people. All the others are making mostly platforms thanks to money they got from a VC. They are creating a platform that is the majority of the times useless. So I was like, what's even the point to lie to myself? Like, I want to be this person. Let's do something that make me happy, but in a range where I can still also see friends, going out for dinner, and enjoy life. Mostly because I enjoy life more than working. And some people in Silicon Valley enjoy more working than having a life, and that's not for me, to be honest. I want to go out and having pizza with friends. That's what, and also creating something on the side. Let's say, So.
No, I like that a lot. I think that's good for people to hear that, because I feel like people sometimes think they can't have that as their definition of success. So they can't have that balanced life as the definition. It has to be one or
It
the
doesn't
other.
exist. I don't think unless you're really good in managing your time and you do not burn out. Whenever you see on YouTube, on Instagram, anyone that posts amazing pictures, they also sometimes they're fake. But I know entrepreneurs, they are really killing it, but you don't see the other 23 hours that they spend during the day in front of a computer alone in struggling. So you can still get there, but not just randomly or for a chance. You have to work 16 hours a day when you're an entrepreneur, especially at the beginning. Now I'm able to work less, but you don't achieve that without working that much. So if you want that and you want to see friends, you have to choose. You have three things: health, career, and friends. You cannot choose all of them. I think, at least I was in now. If you want to be healthy and eat well, then you cannot see friends, because if you go out drinking, you cannot do that. So you have to choose. And maybe the nirvana, it is to get to all of them. Be successful, healthy life, and see people and social life, but it's really difficult. And so far in my life, I only had two of three. So it's difficult to have all of them, and don't believe that it's going to be easy to achieve, because there is a lot of work behind that. So yeah,
I think you're right. But before I let you go, I want to do a quick little rapid fire. It's the same questions I ask everyone at the end of every interview. It's just first thing that comes to mind is 5 questions. First one being, you're going to dinner. You can take anybody dead or alive. Sorry, you take 3 people. It could be anybody dead or alive. Who do you take to dinner?
Oh my God, this is difficult. This is really difficult. I don't know. Oh my God, I'm not good with these questions. I don't want to say common things like Elon Musk, and these type of things, but he's a crazy guy. But I like what he's doing and everything. You know what? I don't have an answer for you. Mostly because I don't have guru in my life. I check everything, but I don't have gurus. And I actually, let me tell you this. Maybe I wouldn't go out with dinner with anyone that I have in my mind, because I might be disappointed by the person in real life. So I maybe I want just to have the idea they have in my mind more than actually meeting the person. So I'm gonna tell you that.
What's some of the best advice you've ever gotten?
Stick with one thing. When I was younger, I did many projects, okay? And all the time I wasn't focusing. 3 months in something, it's not working, let's jump on the other. I'm doing the agency, let's only do that.
What's one thing about you people wouldn't expect?
Maybe for a lot of people, they now see me as more on the business. I think that they would like to see my Italian DNA, that is about joking and staying together and everything, because a lot of the times when I go public, with interviews and things like that, I had to be formal, right, in a way. And so maybe they think that I'm really into my, really into certain things, and I'm this type of CEO that wants that. So maybe not a lot of people think, expect of me still being that funny person that you can go out and having a blast. And I hope that they're gonna encounter more people that can see me in real life now after COVID on that side as well.
What's one thing that's so important everyone needs to know?
I'd say in general, oh my God, I want to say common sense things because I hate those things, but you want to create something in your life that is not just because the others are doing that. Again, to go back to what I was saying, it's not because you have this idea in your mind that you have to do 100 millions to be happy and everything. After a while, do not fight against your instinct of maybe changing yourself just because you're happier in that way. So if you, after a while, you are feeling that you are changing your personality, you are just growing up as a human being. So just not to fight it because, this, I wanted to be that, I was gonna go, and all the time I had to crush it because, who said that? You don't have to, you don't have to die to get on something just because you told yourself. If you are able to change your mind and change your path, whatever. So feel free and don't get too much of pressure on yourself, because too many people are too hard on themselves because they are not maybe achieving certain goals. They are not anymore the goal that they had in mind because it's not what they are making them happy.
For the last question, I like to flip the script a little bit. So instead of me asking the question, it's you asking the question, but it's not to me. So pretend you have a crystal ball. You can ask this crystal ball any question, you'll get the 100% honest answer. What is one question you want to know the answer to?
I don't know, like maybe back in the days I would ask like, about my career, whatever. I'm just gonna ask like maybe if I can know about myself, when it's gonna happen, like, myself in 10 years, mostly to see if I'm gonna be like a person happy with what like I achieved. Because that would help me to go back in time and maybe change things. Again, at the end of the day, for me, it's not just anymore about, the money, the success, the career. I don't do that for the glory. So if I could ask myself what I'm gonna be in 10 years, I'm gonna be like, am I happy with my situation, with having a family, with having this successful career on my back? Did I do everything possible to achieve this sort of like a nice space where I'm like, okay, I did everything. So I don't have like any regrets. That would be maybe something, that I would ask mostly myself in potentially in 10 years, because now I'm 30 years old. And I think that when you get in your 40s, it's a good benchmark, right? To look back. And so I just want to be sure that I did everything, no regrets, and I'm happy. That's it.
It's an important question to ask. I think it's a good one. But I want to give you the floor now. Where can the people find you? Plug anything and everything you got right now.
Okay, so I finally can plug our new podcast, The Influence Factor. We just started it. Okay, we did one episode about the creator economy. What about TikTok trends? What about the metaverse that we just published? The next one is going to be about social commerce, so they can find us, of course, on Spotify if they want to see us on YouTube, Apple Music, you name it. And then, of course, they can check out our website if they want to see some of the case studies that we have done, clients that we work with. And if they want to connect with me, I'm always super happy to connect with new people. They can do that on LinkedIn. So just if you look for Alessandro Bogliari on LinkedIn, they can find me there. Or even on Instagram, they can reach out there, send me a DM, whatever. I 2 years ago, something like that, I got my blue badge there. So all the time that I can on Instagram, just brag about it and having that blue badge there. And so jokes apart, they can reach out there. I'm always happy to connect with new people and share things. So I'd say that. But the one that I want now to push a bit more is the podcast, because it's better than me. It's a lot of work, right? So if I can push it there out and get some nice views, plays, and the ratings, I'm gonna give that as a first priority, I'd say.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure everything's linked in the show notes down below so people can find it. But I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the podcast today. And I want to thank everybody for listening, whether you've listened the entire way through and listened to bits and pieces. I really appreciate you taking time to check this out. Everyone, do me a big favor. Go and check out the Influencer Marketing Factory's brand new podcast. Like I said, it'll be linked in the show notes down below so you can find it. If you'd like to follow me, find me everywhere on social media at Jacob Kelly. Feel free to come and say hello. My DMs are always open. As always, today's podcast is powered by TRUFAN. Thank you once again for listening, everybody. We'll talk soon.